If you're not hitting your new asset goal or your revenue goal, it's not for what I'll call lack of opportunity or the marketplace or the environment. There's something going on that you have got to take a good hard look at. Hi, this is Coach Joe Lucas, and welcome to the Magellan Network Show. My goal inside of this communication, this show, is to share with you my nearly 30 years of coaching some of the most successful financial advisors in North America. We're going to be talking about strategies, syntaxes. We're going to be bringing guests on from time to time, and I'm going to share with you what's working now. So think of this show as sort of like a little one-on-one kind of mini coaching cast, if you like, where we're going to be going in depth from time to time on strategies to help you grow your business, get more effective, become more efficient, find balance in your time management, grow your business, and quite frankly, whatever else is going on in the world today. So before we get to today's episode, I'd love for you to do a couple things for me. Number one, make sure that if you're watching this on YouTube, that you subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're doing the audio, make sure that you give us a review on whether it's Spotify or Apple. We'd really appreciate that. And quite frankly, that does help. It does matter when you rate things and like things and subscribe to things. It helps us get the word out to more of the industry. And lastly, I have a very special gift for you. Go to MagellanNetwork.net, so one word, MagellanNetwork.net, and I have for you a complimentary membership, 100% gratis, where you can tap into about between 50 and 75 hours of masterclasses, forms, tools, templates, and strategies. So please go ahead and make sure you go ahead and get that claimed. Smash the like button and subscribe. And please go ahead and leave us a review on whatever podcasting platform you're on. And now, let's get to this week's episode. Hi, it's your Coach Joe Lucas, and welcome to this episode of the Magellan Network Show. I'm recording this literally just a couple days after the 4th of July holiday here in 2023. And I thought what I would do today in this episode is just kind of walk you through kind of what I'm seeing out there in the industry, kind of what I'm experiencing through my clients, and kind of hopefully inspire you to really play a larger game. So what do I mean by that? I think everybody who operates inside of our universe knows that we are now entering what we'll call the fat part of the baby boomer retirement bell curve, right? And so for the next, depending on whose data you want to look at, for the next 5 to 7 years, this is when the vast majority of the boomers are going to call it a career. This is also where the biggest window is going to be for advisors, some of your colleagues and coworkers. They're going to call it a career also. And then you have the third piece of liquidity, which is entrepreneurs, who are now boomers also. They're retiring. So there's 3 pots of assets, right? There's basically our retiree rollover market, right? There's our pot of money there. There's advisors retiring. They're going to need to either sell their business or make arrangements. That's the second pot. Then you have entrepreneurs that are selling their companies and retiring. So you got 3 major liquidity events. I think, and it is my experience, that there's no better time to be in this game. Because I'm not going to tell you it's going to get easier, but there's just going to be more opportunity. If you're not hitting your new asset goal or your revenue goal, it's not for what I'll call lack of opportunity or the marketplace or the environment. There's something going on that you have got to take a good hard look at. Now, I am not here in this episode to call anybody out. That's not the purpose here. I'm here to educate, inspire, and I don't believe in motivating because I think that's too temporary. What I'd like you to do is consider being really committed to something, right? So if I'm an advisor, and this is advice I'd give all my guys and gals who I work with, whether I work with them personally or they're through Magellan Network, it's the same marching order right now, which is get out there and let people know you're there. Now, what do I mean by that? Basically, look, remind your clients that you're here and you're a resource. This is not rocket science, okay? I know there are referral consultants out there that have these processes and everything else, and they want to make a big deal out of it. I think more in the opposite approach. I think it's really about making sure your clients are aware that you're here as a resource, friends, family, colleagues, and coworkers. That's one languaging pattern we use. It's not that complicated. You just have to say it as many times throughout the day as possible. If you're not letting your clients know that you're here, and look, and I've experienced this with some of my personal clients who are approaching or have surpassed the typical retirement age, and unless you're very intentional in letting your clients know that you're still in growth mode, you're still here to serve, that you're not planning to retire, if you don't tell them that and reinforce that message consistently, why do you think they would know anything different? Because 5 years ago, they don't remember that conversation, right? If you don't tell them what your game plan is, they're going to assume you're like everybody else. And, it's interesting. A lot of times I'll get an advisor come in to talk to me, right? And I usually end up like there's like two or three demographics I'll get in my game. One of them will be the younger advisor who wants to take, years, if not a decade off of their game in terms of ramping up, and let's not trial and error it. So I love working with those guys and gals. A lot of fun, future, right? So that's really cool. Then I'll get somebody who's just frustrated. They've kind of reached a certain level of success and they're kind of plateaued, right? They can't break through the glass ceiling, the metal ceiling, the wood ceiling, whatever, right? And a little sidebar on why that is, because you just can't do what you did and continue to scale. The game changes. And you have to be willing to shift and pivot. You got to be willing to evolve as a person, as a professional. And not everybody wants to do that. You think I'll just keep doing more of the same. And in my experiences, it inevitably doesn't work that way. And so that could be some of it. But the third one is interesting. It's a more recent development. There's an advisor coming to see me who is like a couple years from retirement. They say, look, I want to work with you for a couple years. I want to go ahead and get my business really organized. I want to get everything set to go so that when I do put it on the market, I get the highest multiple for myself and my family. And I'm fine with that, right? Let's go do that. But here's a funny thing. I would say in 8 to 9 out of 10 of those cases, when I put them through my process, right? Strategic planning process, we kind of do some visioning, stuff like that. I said, why are you looking to retire? Like, why are you retiring? And they won't tell me. They never say, oh, I hate what I do and I want to get out. They just say, it's a lot. And then we start having the real conversation, right? Now, what's that real conversation? Questions like this. Imagine the first day of the rest of your life. You sold your practice, right? You're done. And, some advisors will say, oh, I'm really excited. I'm going to go on vacation. That lasts temporary, right? You know what they all say? That's a good question. What would I do? Hi, Coach Joe Lucas here, and I'm just breaking here for a moment just to do a couple quick reminders. Number one, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel or our podcast. In addition, please leave a comment or a review. Those things really, really matter. And share this episode with 3 of your colleagues inside the financial services space. And lastly, make sure that you go ahead and claim your free membership inside of Magellan Network. Now back to this week's episode. And what I find, I really believe this is going to be, this now conversation is morphing into something a little bit different than I had planned, but it's okay. We'll go. That's the beauty of doing your own podcast. You can kind of take it where you want to take it. I believe a lot of advisors today think that their options are binary. And here's what I mean. They either got to go at 1,000 miles an hour or they got to go at 0. And I don't know. I don't believe that. I think there are a lot of potential opportunities. I think there's other doors to explore. What do I mean by that? I think you could sell part of your business. I think you can do a tuck-in merger and retain 50 to 100 of your best clients or your happiest clients and sell the rest off. I mean, there's a lot of ways to do things. And what I find what's really cool is after I talk to somebody who wants to retire like in 3 to 4 years, and we start figuring out why they want to retire, and then we start game planning, and I always say this, it's something I got from Tim Ferriss, the 4-Hour Work Week, which There's some pros and cons to it, but let's just call it the pro side, right? If retirement was not an option for you, what would you do different? So let's just say you, the advisor, you decided, I'm not going to retire. I'm going to do my thing until I'm physically or mentally not capable of doing it. So in other words, I'm not going to retire. What are you going to do different? In every case I've asked that question, I've gotten the same thing. I take more downtime. I take more vacation time. I go attack my bucket list, right? Or something like that. I was okay, great. Do you have a bucket list? No. All right, let's put one together, right? And then it's like, okay, we got the bucket list. We go over it. We look at it. And now we're like, okay, so what do we need to execute this? I said there are three things. No particular order. You need time, right? Time to go do. You need economic resources, obviously. A lot of advisors think those are the two stumbling blocks. It's really not. I find most advisors, if they've done this game well, they've got money. They have time if they really look hard. Third one is the hardest one. It's permission. Can you give yourself permission to go have it all? That's an easy statement, right? It's very vogue, right? Let's go get permission to have it all. But in our game, advisor land, you can. And that's the real cool thing. You know, it's not hyperbole. It's not like some pie in the sky kind. I mean, it's just not. Not my experiences. You know, I've got clients, 16, 20 weeks off. I've got one gentleman who came to me and he literally thought, you know, he was one of these guys. I want to get organized. I want to punch out by 60, 63, 64. And he had a great career at a major insurance company. No, we don't need to get names, but, you know, vested, all set, ready to go. And when we went through the process, I said to him, look, there's always a way to do this thing on your terms for the next 10, 15, 20 years, God willing. And it totally reframed him. Like he really thought he was on the twilight of his career. And fast forward today, he retired, right, from the insurance company, so he gets all these vested benefits, everything like that. He bolted on to an RIA, has an office. I do believe it's 2 weeks a month. He sees clients, and the other 2 weeks a month, he's strategic time, renewal time, bucket list trips, camping, all the kind of fun stuff he enjoys doing. Happy. And what's fascinating, he's making like more money now than he did when he did the thing full time, which is kind of odd, right? I tell you that story because, again, when I look at my demographics, right? I mean, I've got three audiences. I've got the younger men and women who are coming into this game, which is great. I've got some of you mid-career people, right? Which are, you know, you're trying to figure out what your next move is, your next 3 or 4 moves are. And then I've got a chunk of you who, you know, conventionally, right? We'll put that term on it. Are on the other side of the mountain, which I don't believe, by the way. And you're just trying to figure it out. Like you're trying to figure out your end game, right? And I hate that. Right? You know your best day in this business. You know when your best day in this business is? Your last day in this business. That is your best day. And I just want you all to have that concept, that belief. Now, I wish I could just snap my fingers and make it like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But I truly believe that. You know, what I do and what you guys do is not very different. In fact, it's going to look a lot more similar over the next 5 years. My best coaching years are in front of me. Now, I've been at this thing in February 2024. It'll be 30 years. 30 years doing this. For a lot of people, that's 2 careers. And I look at that and I go, well, I mean, even Tom Brady had to retire. I mean, at some point, right? Father Time is undefeated, right? But I look at what I do. I say, my best years are in front of me. I've got 30 years of wisdom and knowledge. I don't know, 75,000 individual sessions. I mean, I stopped counting probably 8 years ago. It just got ridiculous. It's like my best work is in front of me, not behind me. And I believe that's the same for you. So here's my challenge. Whether you're, you know, starting out, mid-career, or on the other side of the mountain, we'll just use it as a term. Here's one thing I'm going to submit to you. In all 3 situations, your best years are in front of you, if you choose them to be so. That's the key thing. If you choose them to be so. You have to be intentional. You have to have that mind. You know, I've said this, some of you are going to think this is absolutely crazy. But I've told my clients, I'm on record, I plan to coach till I'm at least 100. Why? Studies have shown that when a human being has purpose, and that purpose is meaningful, they're happy, they're healthy, and they live longer, okay? So happier, healthier, and longer life. I don't know. Checks 3 of my boxes. How about you? So what's your purpose? Why are you an advisor? What's your big game? What's the grand vision for yourself? And if the grand vision is to, serve 100, 150 families, do it from the home, right? With a virtual team, totally can do that. And that's success. And if that's what you want, let's go build it. If you want to go build a $20 million top line, $2, $3, $4 billion asset size enterprise, let's go do that. Both are available here. And like I said, when we started out this conversation, I'm not going to ever use the word easier, because I think anything worthwhile takes effort. And with that said, the opportunities, the assets flows that we're seeing, the new household count, it's there. And you just don't want to look back, 10 years from now and say, man, there was this magical time, up until, I don't know, let's say 2028, 2029, that careers were made and I took my eye off the ball. You don't want that. Okay? So with that said, thank you for listening and watching this episode of Magellan Network Show, and I'll see all you guys next week. Thank you for watching or listening to this episode of the Magellan Network Show. Hey, if any of this resonated with you, I invite you to come to MagellanNetwork.net, and we have a powerful group coaching community of like-minded advisors. Come in for a trial. You and I will have a one-on-one conversation. Let's see if I can help elevate your game, both personally and professionally.